So, hey, hi, Saurabh. I'm. How are you? I am also good. Okay, let's start with this one SQL question. So today we will start this. This is the question like 1336 number of transaction per visit. Okay, so I have copied this question to my uh, basically open board. So basically, let me explain the question first, and then after you can tell me your approach, and then we can proceed further. Is that fine? Okay. So give me 1 minute. So as you can see, there are two tables. One is visit and another one is transaction. In visit table, these are the primary key, user ID and visit date. It these two it will to, these two column makes this table as like these two column make it as a primary key, as you can see here. And this table, what is present, it basically present which user is going to visit the bank, okay, on which date. So this is the visit table. And another table, this is a transaction table, okay. So in the beginning of this line, this line is saying it may contain the duplicate data, okay. So in this one, basically who whatever the user have done that transaction, the detail is inside this table. So suppose some user is visiting to bank, and if somebody is doing the, suppose there is user, okay, there is user id 1 who is visiting bank, suppose, okay. So so suppose today is 24 and 02. I'm just giving random date. Okay. So this is the entry for today. If user 1 is visiting and to bank, today date will be inserted in the visit table. And if that user is doing any transaction, so that entry will be inside the transaction table, in this table. If user is not doing anything, it's just he and she is visiting, the entry will be inside this table only, okay. So in this one, so it is saying it is guaranteed that user has visited in the bank in transaction date. So there will be possibility like if somebody in some user is visited to bank but they have not done the transaction. So in this one, okay, so this is the table, uh, what tables is presenting. So now what uh, this question is telling, that we need to find the transaction count and visit count, okay. So what is the transaction count here? So suppose one user is visiting to bank, okay. So if some user is doing any transaction, then we can consider that is transaction 1. And another user is coming, and again another user is doing another transaction, so we will consider the 2 transaction. Likewise, we need to consider how many transaction we have done in in that visit, okay. So, and visit count is basically who user is visited to that particular bank, okay, and who did that transaction count. So suppose if somebody is not doing any transaction, that is also like kind of zero transaction we need to consider. So yeah, do you have any question till now? Okay, you are clear with the transaction count and visit count? Hello, sir, you're, i'm I'm not able to hear it. Okay, I will explain it again. Like transaction count. So in one visit, so suppose user one is coming in on this date. So suppose one user one is doing multiple transaction, 1 2 3, in one visit only. We need to count how many transaction he and she did, okay, in one visit. And visit count means basically whatever the user came to visit the bank, and he and she did the transaction. So and then okay, so let's go with the example. They have given the explanation how we will proceed. So see, transaction 0. Okay, so if you go to visit table, they are saying this is a user id and this is a date. This is again user id and this is date. So you can see user id 1, which is this, and this is the visit date. You can match, this is the date. Okay, you can see this entry is not present in this date. This is a 2, this is a, again this is a user id 1. We will filter with the user id 1 first. These two entries are there, and now just check the dates, 2 and 4, but there is no entry for 1. Now go for this second entry. This is user id 2 and the date is 2. So in visit table, this is a user id 2 and this is a 2. So you just filter with user id 2 first. This is only one entry and this is the date. So likewise, if you count, these are the user who, who visited in this on like particular date. They have mentioned it here. They just visited the bank. They have not done any transaction. So that's why transaction count is 0. Okay, how many users has visited to bank but they have not done the they have not done any transaction. So visit count is 4. Like this, there are 4 entries. Coming to transaction 1. Okay, so if you see here, there is, okay, let me erase this thing. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so if you see here, user id 2, he and she visited on this date. So if you go, this is the user id 2 and this is the date. And if you go, this is our record. So that's why it is coming one time, because if you see user id 2, only one in record is here. Likewise, if you go for 7 visited on this date. Okay, okay, give me one, let me erase. Okay, so 7 visited on this date, you can see it is matching. So all the user visited particular on particular date, but they have done the transaction only once. So inside once, how many users have done this transaction one time only and one time only. Okay, so you can count, you can see 2 is coming, 7, you can see 7 also is there. Now coming to here, 12 is there. You can, if user id 12 is there, no, so it is considering as a 0 transaction. inside 0 it will go. So 19, there is no 19 again. This one again it will go 0 transaction, because these users just visited the bank but they have not done any transaction. That's why it coming to transaction 0. See, this is user id 1. This is our user id 1. Okay, let me erase it. Okay, what is the date? This is the second, and you can see here we found this one. So this one. Now coming to this, you know, so we are 2. So what is the date? 3. You can see there is no, oh yeah, this is the entry. And now likewise we need to find on, so for one transaction how many users are there. They have done that only one time transaction. Now see this thing first, this one. So if you see transaction 3, okay, let me erase it, everything. Okay, so if you see there's only one user on this date, he and she done thrice. This is the one, this is one, this is one. 25th, 25th, 25th. So how many times he and she did the transaction? 3 times. And uh, how many users? Only one. Okay, so this is so if you count with the transaction 0 1 3 will be there, but if you see this line carefully, transaction count should take all the value from 0 to maximum count done by one or more user. So what it is saying, so now you need to generate 0 1 2 3. So how many users, tell me the how many users who done that 0 transaction. Okay, how many users who done that transaction for one time, how many users who done that transaction 2 times. In this case it will be 0, because if you see uh, nobody is have done this transaction twice, only thrice or maybe once, or there is no transaction. So that's why it is 0. So in transaction 3 uh, it will be one user only, but in 0 4, and in 1 it will be 5. So this is the output we want. So if I will show you that graph, yeah, so you can see on 0 transaction 4 people visited on this, uh, for particular 0 transaction 4 people have visited to bank. For one transaction only, they have done one transaction, 5 people came to bank. And for 2 transaction there were no users. Okay, for 3 only one user who did this 3 times the transaction. So yeah, so do you have any question till now? Like, okay, let me know if you have any question, so we can clear it out. Okay, okay, so if you can tell me like how will you approach this one? Hmm. Okay. Okay. mm. so so if you give me 1 minute. Okay, so this is our visit table. So if user is visited but he and she did not done any transaction. Okay, so suppose I visited, user A is visited but no transaction, no entry in the transaction. Okay, B is also visited, so no transaction for related to date. So I can consider if visited date inside not present in the transaction table, then I can simply consider this is the zero transaction. Is that correct? Okay, so zero. So okay, so suppose this is the on first or maybe two. Let me write down the dates also. 23/01/01. Here you can write anything like 02 or something. Now C user came and C user is done that one transaction. D user came, so suppose 2023/01/01. He This user has done this again on 02, and again this user has done this again this transaction on this date only. So how many transaction it is 2 and it is 1. So if I uh, join these two table like visit and transaction, I will get the structure like this. Okay, so can you tell me like which join we will use? Yeah, that's correct. Like suppose visited table has some entry. Okay, but if you join on user id and visited date, because we need to check this particular user with this date inside this entry, because as you can see this user is there and this date is there, but if you see one is coming twice but the dates are both are different. So that's why we need to compare with the date also and user id. So what I was explaining, so we need to compare. Suppose a is there, a user is there but it is not present in the transaction. So whatever the left table data is there, it will come. Okay, so let me explain, if somebody will watch this. So left join basically, if you Venn diagram is there, this is the left table and this is the right table. Okay, so when we are doing the left join, so this portion will come and this portion will also come. So the common portion will also come, and whatever the remaining portion of the left table will also come, like common of left and right, and plus remaining okay, let me remaining part of left which is not matching with right. Okay, so the common part of like left and right, it will come, and whatever it is not matching, this portion will come of left table. So let's do this one. I will show you the result. So in this one we still need to figure out this two thing. Okay, let me do this one first. Let's go to Leetcode editor and we'll try this one. We'll go step by step. Okay, select, this is the table you can see here. Visit it, we will give alias v, and as we have discussed, we will use a left join. Okay, can you tell me why we have choose the visited table, the main table, and why we have choose transaction table as a left table, sorry, right table? Sorry, are you there? Okay, so I will tell you. If you go here, as we just discussed, like main entry will be inside visited table. Okay, if some user is visited to bank, that entry will definitely inside the visit table, but there will be possibility they just visited the bank but they have not done any transaction. So to consider this scenario, we need to use visit table as a main table. So this one, so as we have told, we need to consider this. What is the joining condition? uh, this is the user id we have need to take. So we need to take user id of visit table and we need to take user id of transaction table, and we need to join with the state also. So we need to put and condition here, v dot transact visit id and v dot t dot. Yeah, so if you run this thing, this query, you will get some output. Let me show you. Okay, let's skip this for now. So this is our output. Let's copy this, copy, and if I come here, think it is not copy properly. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, let me show you. So if you see, I think it is not coming properly. So if you see here, we combine this with user id and date. So if there is no entry on the transaction table, so the null is coming. So based on this one, you can consider like if it is user id or maybe transaction date. Okay, we will use the transaction date for zero transaction, because if user is visited to bank but there will be no entry for in transaction table, no? That's why it is coming now. Now we will consider wherever the transaction date is null, we will keep it as 0. So if you from here, and so where 0 is null is there, here null is there, and here null is there. So we'll keep 0 0 because nobody uh, has done this transaction, so that's why it is 0 transaction. So now you can count how many users are there. 1 2 3 4 4. So we got our this thing, transaction 0 and visit count 4. Now coming to other dates or other users. So this thing, you wherever the transaction date is not null, you just give the 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Okay, so okay, so do you have any question till now, sir? Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, so let's create this thing. So how we will create this thing? Keep those column as is, like this asterisk will present all the whatever the column of left table will come, and whatever the column of right table will also come. So now how will you create new column? Can you tell me, like we need to create this new column, no? Can you tell me how can we create it? Yeah, so I will tell you. Yeah, case, that's correct. Like case when so as I told, we will take the transaction date. If transaction date is null, then 0, else 1, and end it. So you can give as transaction count alias. If you run this query, 0 1 1 1 1, so I think result is truncated. So if I do the submission, like how many zeros are there, it will do this submission. So if I do the sum, and give me 1 minute. Okay, so the okay, give me 1 minute. This is a one, and give me 1 minute, just a minute. So okay, give me 1 minute. So yeah, so uh so previously, okay, so if you remember, we were doing 0 and 1 here, and let me enlarge this thing. 0 and 1. Now if so, as I told, we can sum it up, this thing. 0, how many 0 it will be, it will give you the sum. So on which basis we need to do the grouping? In user id and visited date. So in user id, if 1 is there and on this date, uh, how many times uh, this user, okay, let me show you first so you will get more clarity. Okay. So we'll write it v user id, because if you see, we need to give what, which, from which table we need to use alias, we need to give v user id and v visit date and comma and group by, we will do, okay, here this one. Give me 1 minute. What is this? Visit. Okay, spelling is wrong. Okay, here. Oh my bad. Okay, now you can see user 1 is visited on this date, but he and she done 0 transaction. But this user is visited on this one, done 1 transaction, done 1 transaction on different date. Again this no transaction. This user visited but did 1 transaction. If you see, user 9 visited on this date but done 3 transaction. Likewise you can see this result. So now if you go with this like, we can create the CT of this table. I hope you know the CT. Okay, so now CT is like just temporary table, we can use as a temporary table. So if I write the same output, I will get it. Okay, so now what we need to do, this transaction count, we we will do the grouping by on this one, and we will count how many users will have done this 0 transaction, 0 1 2 3, and how many users has done this 1 transaction only, 1 2 3 4 5, sorry. Okay, so if I will create transaction count, now if I will just count it, transaction count, and if I will do this group by on transaction count, you can see, okay, let me order it with transaction count. So you can see on These 4 users visited the bank, but zero they have done no transaction. 5 users visited the one, they have done one transaction, and only one user who did thrice, 3 times transaction. Okay, let me change the name also according to this output. Transaction count and visits count. As a visit count, as a transaction count. So see, 4 user came and 0 transaction like this. Now the problem is, if you remember, we want this from reset from 0 to this thing, yeah, 0 to max. So 0, and what is the maximum transaction count, you can see here 3. So it should start with the like it should go till 3, and 0 1 2 3. So if you go here, transaction 4, no customer visited the bank and did more than 3 transactions, so we'll stop at transaction 3, because if you check the transaction table, there is not more than 3 transactions. So now how we will proceed this thing, if you can tell me. How will you bring this thing? Basically you got this 0 1 3, but how will you come with 2? That is one tricky part, or if you can suggest. So you are just, yeah, but you are getting transaction 0 1 and 3, but how will you, like, from how will you identify these two transaction 2, but there is no user also? So if you think logically, uh, someone visited to bank but not doing anything, it will go to 0. If visited user is visited uh, bank and done one time transaction, it will go 1. Okay, visited bank 1, sorry, visited bank, but uh, he and she did the transaction twice. But in this table you can see there is no twice transaction, only 1 and thrice. So okay, so let me rub it. Okay, so give me 1 minute. So they can be n number of ways. I'm just telling you how this one approach. So in this one, we know that we have 1 and 3, like transaction count, uh, 0 1 and 3. How we will bring 2? That is the question, no? So if you go up, they are saying starting from 0 and whatever the maximum count. So right now we are using postgres. In postgres there is one function, generate underscore series. So whatever you can consider as a like loop, so whatever you can give 0, so this is a starting, this is second parameter will come stop, and what will be the increment value. So suppose if I want so suppose let me write it 10, and it should increment by 1. If you won't mention it, it will increment by default by 1. Okay, so 1, it will start from 0, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, so and if you want to increase by 2 to 0 3, wait, like 5 and 7 like this, so you need to give 0 till 10 and increment by 2 2. So okay, I will tell you where like it will fit. So if you see, select asterisk from generate series, it should start from 2 and it should go till 4. If you are not mentioning anything, it will increment by 1. You can see 2 3 4. This is a postgres official document. So what we will do here, where it will come into picture, so we will pass starting 0. We know that it should always start from 0, and what we can do, we can write select whatever the maximum value of that our this 0 1 3, give me this value, whatever the maximum value. So if I will run this query, what it will come, 0 and 3. Okay, this will come. So and this query, what will it will give me the output 0 2 3. So if I run this query, what I am trying to say here, okay, so let me comment this thing, select string from, or if I run generate, let me copy this thing, generate series 0 to 3. You just see this thing, 0 to 3. Okay, so now let me uncomment this thing. You can remove the order by, that's not the problem, but for right now we just want to we want to see the output from ct2. Now what we can do here, we can make ct, okay, let me write it down here. So as I have told, we will use a 0, and what we can do here, start subquery, select max from this table, and what is the maximum transaction count we need to give. So if you run this query, we'll get the same output whatever we have just run. So 0 2 3. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so yeah, so now if you remember, we have one table which these entry, and there is another table which we have created 0 1 2 3. Now if we will do this light join or maybe full auto join, so this will match with this one, this will match this one, this will match this one, so we left with 2. So we can consider, if there is no entry inside this one, we will consider 0 visit. You are getting? Okay, so give me 1 minute. So we will create again one ct3. We will write it. So if you will do this one ct3, we will get the same output 0 1 2 3. Now but this is our main table. ct2, I am using full outer join, full join. ct3, you can give ct2, and you can give basically any alias, but it should be like valid, and it will be like, it should be understandable. So on c3, okay, you can give the alias also as transaction count. Right now I'm giving, so c3 transaction count, it should match with c2 transaction count. If I will use the right join also, what is the error? S3 transaction. Oh my bad, it is inside that query. Give me 1 minute. Yeah, so this is the transaction count for our options. Okay, we'll give another name for now. Oh, we have changed the name. Okay, so you can see whatever the transaction is matching, it is coming 0, and wherever it is null, we will consider 0. So now you can use me this transaction column, sorry, transaction count, and this is the final output column. And if you see here, so wherever the null is there, we can use a coil list. Okay, so what coil list is doing, whatever the without first null value, suppose what it will do, suppose null is there, 4 5 6 is, suppose 6 is there. Okay, so what we are saying, remove the null value and give me the first value, so it will return the 4. Okay, so if it is not there, you can write it default parameter here. So okay, let me what is, okay, so okay, I don't remember the exact spelling of police. Let me google it. Okay, so this is the spelling police, and you just pass your visited count, and if visited count is null, you just pass it as a 0. If you run this query, the output will match. See, and we need to give order by, if you go here, output should be based on the return result by transaction count. So we need to give order by transaction count. So if I will submit this thing, you can see, Okay, it's successfully submitted. So do you have any question till now? Like any question you can ask me. Okay, you just try this question. I will provide this in my description, schema and data set. Okay. Okay, let's stop this session. We will continue in another day. Okay, bye bye.